In this episode of the Range Minded Podcast, we're talking to you guys that are brand new to the 2A family. That's right, the noobs. This is all for you, my friends. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Range Minded Podcast, episode 271, Ode to the Noobs. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back to the Range Minded Podcast. As I said in the intro, this is all about the new shooters. You know, us that are seasoned in the community, we kind of overlook the new folks. We don't realize that there's a lot of stuff that they don't know. And sometimes it's like drinking through a fire hose. And honestly, a lot of the time, we don't do them any favors. We're actually kind of rude. Anyways, that's really not what I'm going to talk about. I'm not talking about us being rude to the noobs, but I want to help them on the journey. So this episode is completely dedicated to the new shooter, and we're just going to go through a bunch of different things, whether it's picking out your first gun, knowing how to handle it, what to do with it, and more. So yeah, let's just dive right into it. Prepare, my friends, prepare. So before we even get too crazy with this episode, we have to talk about the 2,000-pound gorilla in the room. Firearms are a ton of fun, and I know a lot of us hear these things over and over and over, but we have to pay attention to them like we are the new shooter. So, if you're new at this, if you've never heard these before, commit these to memory and just follow them like they are the commandments of guns. Okay, these are the 4 general firearm safety rules. Okay. First and foremost, we are going to treat every gun like it's loaded, no exceptions, no matter what, 100% of the time. Even if we think that we unloaded it, okay, we always have to treat that gun as if it's loaded. Whether it's a handgun, whether it's a rifle or a shotgun, it does not matter. Number 2, because we're going to treat that gun as if it's loaded, we are never, ever going to point that gun at something that we are not willing to destroy. Guns are inherently dangerous. They have some mystique and coolness about them, but because they are dangerous, they can hurt or way worse, something or someone. Never, ever point that loaded gun at loaded or unloaded, right? We just talked about that. Never point that firearm at something that we're not willing to destroy. All right, number 3 is, because we're never going to point that gun at something that we're not willing to destroy, and because we're going to treat that gun like it's loaded all the time, we also want to keep our finger off the trigger and outside of that trigger guard until we have made the conscious decision to fire. Once we are once we're on our target and we're ready to pull that trigger, that's the only time our finger should ever be on that trigger. Now that we followed the first 3, we're going to go to number 4. If you're counting along with, I don't know, maybe you can't count that high, who knows, is we want to know what our target is, what's in front of our target, and what's beyond our target. Bullets can go a long ways, and some of them carry a tremendous amount of energy. We need to know what we're aiming at. We need to know what our target is, and we need to know where that bullet is going to stop. Always, always, always follow those 4 safety rules, no matter what. Whether you're at the range, whether you're at home, doesn't matter. Follow those safety rules all the time. And I mean, honestly, if you need to write those down and put them in your gun case or in your safe or somewhere that you see them all the time, it's a good idea. We really need to be following these rules. Now, this applies whether you're a brand new shooter or seasoned. It doesn't matter. Those rules apply all the time. So that's it. You're a brand new gun owner. Congratulations. You are about to start on a journey that will take you all sorts of different places. Owning a gun is awesome. It is a huge responsibility, but it is exciting. And this journey, like I say, can take you anywhere from just shooting targets at a range to maybe shooting competitions, or at some point, like it did with me, becoming a firearms instructor and an enthusiast a little bit, okay, a lot. Who knows? This could take you places that you never even dreamed of.
All of your wildest dreams will come true.
Firearms ownership is amazing. It's almost like getting that set of keys to your first car Only, sure, I get it. A car is a privilege, not a right. Guns, at least in the United States, man, it is our right to keep and bear arms. This is going to be a fun ride, you guys.
Come on, love a little.
Now, anytime you start a new hobby, just consider there is going to be this huge deluge of information just flowing at you. You got to understand, just buying a gun and owning a gun is just the start of a lot. You got to understand your local, your state, and the federal gun laws, because every state is different. Some of them are pretty close to the same, but almost every state has different laws. But then you got to consider some federal stuff depending on what you have, or if you're flying, or places that you can't carry a gun. There's a lot of information to start to soak in. And there's a lot of good information, and there's a lot of BS. It's so much. There's so much out there. And I know there's YouTube and there's podcasts, like some really good podcasts out there. I'm not, maybe not so good ones. There's a lot of information, and there's a lot of places to get it. And we're going to get into maybe good stuff, bad stuff later. But just prepare. There is a ton of information coming your way. But if you're a new gun owner, this is going to sound really boring. But if you've bought the gun, you've taken it home, here's a good place to start to gather information. And some of you are going to be like, meh. But here's the reality. Get that gun, the manual that comes with your gun. Get it out of the box and start looking through it. Read about maintenance. Read about, how to tear it down or whatever. There's a lot of information buried inside that manual. I get it. A lot of us dudes, anyways, ladies, you might have a different experience or a different perspective, but dudes don't really care about other people's point of view on something that you just bought. But let's face the fact. It's a gun. You might as well get as much information as possible about the gun that you have bought. So start with the manual and dig through it. I know it's probably pretty boring, pretty dry. There might be some cool pictures in there. I don't know. But it's a good place to start getting that information.
Hi there. Is there a project you're working on?
I know more than you.
All right.
And since we really started the episode with the 4 general firearm safety rules, we need to keep those rules the entire time when we're in possession of a gun, when we own a gun. We should keep those rules. So let's start with that just inside of your home. Practice with that gun. No ammunition, mind you. No ammo. Practice handling the gun, picking it up safely, learning if you bought a semi-auto, learning how to rack that slide. If it's a revolver, learning how to drop the cylinder and extract those spent casings. Understand how the gun functions. Maybe while you're at it, you can press the trigger a few times to get a feel for how the trigger feels. Again, no ammo around when you're doing this, okay? Ammo is nowhere near you when you're doing this kind of stuff. Whenever we're handling a gun outside of a range or outside where we're going to do target practicing or something of the fact, no ammo. Okay, that's a huge, huge deal. It's okay to dry fire practice at home. Unless it's something like an antique gun or even some rim fires, maybe you shouldn't dry fire practice. If it's a modern striker fired gun or pretty much any of the modern guns other than maybe the rim fire stuff, it's okay to dry fire. It's okay to get a feel for that trigger. And I've talked about dry fire before. In fact, I think I have one in a tactical tip. You can dig through some of my past videos. We have talked about that a lot before. But it's a good idea, like I say, before you really hit the range and start shooting the gun for reals, is to just get a feel for how it feels in your hands. We'll get to the more intense stuff in a minute. But yeah, just start there. Get a feel for the gun that you just bought. All right, let's say that you've really got a good feel for how the gun feels in your hand, and it's time to hit the range and do some target practice. A lot of new shooters really, really stress about this part of the journey, the first time at the range, especially if it's the first time by yourself. Sometimes going with your homies, it's not so bad. But when you're by yourself, that can be a little daunting if you're a new shooter, especially if there's a bunch of dudes like having some stupid bachelor party and being loud and reckless and that kind of stuff. It can be really distracting and really unnerving to the new shooters. Another thing you really need to keep in mind, and we're going to talk about safety stuff here in a little bit, as far as eye and ear protection, but indoor ranges especially are really, really loud. Think about it. You have those gunfires contained in a box, basically. So the sound reverberates off the walls. Sometimes the airflow system that cleans the air is kind of loud and distracting in a way. So there's a lot of things you have to think about going to an indoor range. Outdoor ranges, yeah, there's benefits because the sound is not contained inside the box. But then you're dealing with the weather, wind, rain, cold, that kind of stuff, or hot in some cases, obviously. So there's trade-offs to either way you're going. But either way, understand when you're at an organized range, it's going to be loud. So you got to take that into effect. A lot of people are really jumpy the first time they shoot. And, it's just a natural reflex. When we hear a loud noise, we get a little shaky. Don't worry about that. You're not going to look stupid. Nobody should laugh at you anyways. Just take your time. Go nice and easy in the beginning. Just get used to how the gun feels. Maybe just put one round in the magazine or in the cylinder and just fire one at a time. Get used to how the gun feels. Baby steps are perfectly cool at this time of your journey. You just started. We don't expect you to be John Wick the first time you shoot, right? It's not that big of a deal. It's okay to be nervous. Nerves are honestly a good thing. That means you have a healthy respect for the gun because you know they can be dangerous. Don't sweat it. It's all good. The next thing that I see that has, obviously confidence and seeing success on your target is a big deal. But don't be like all frustrated that your target has more holes in it than Tim Kennedy's war stories. It's not that big of a deal. Accuracy will come later. Just take your time. Do the fundamentals. That means grip, stance to some degree, but your grip, your sight alignment, and sight picture, how your sights reflect on the target down there, or not reflect, but how they're in coordination with your target. All that stuff is really important. Take it slow. Work on that stuff nice and easy. You'll get there. Again, don't worry about how crazy your target looks in the beginning. I know a lot of people get really frustrated when they first start shooting because their targets honestly don't look that great. But it's okay. We'll work on accuracy later. Let's work on the fundamentals right off the bat. You need to understand this is a journey. Okay? A lot of things will change. Your skills will change. Your desire on owning different kind of guns or gear will change. The quality of products available to you as a customer will change. Laws, all that stuff. It's such a dynamic journey. And as you shoot more, as you get more involved, you will change. Your skills will change. Your abilities and understanding of how and what the gun does will change. That's the fun of this whole two-way thing. It is a learning experience that lasts a lifetime because there's always a new skill to learn, and it's the pursuit of that which makes it entertaining. While we're talking about that, developing skills and things changing, get good quality education. We're going to talk about that in a little bit when we talk about quality information that you're getting. But a good education is so important. Remember, like your mom said, go to school, become a doctor. Well, even if you're not a doctor, you can get some good education from quality firearms instructors that will help you on the range, or friends that are really experienced that can help you on the range. You will see improvements on those targets. Your success will go up. Your confidence will go up. It's just a ton of fun. I promise you. Since we're on the topic of gear changing and evolving, let's talk about what I think is necessary gear for beginner shooters. Now, I worked a gun counter for a long time. I'm also a firearms instructor, if you're new to this show. If you're not, you'll know that I've spent a lot of time selling guns and teaching people how to shoot those guns. It's important as a new shooter not to go all out. I know, like when I started paintball, dude, I went crazy. I bought all sorts of stuff, went nuts. That excitement lasted maybe 2 years, and all that stuff I spent way too much money on was just junk collecting dust in the closet. You don't have to do that when it comes to firearms, okay? I know it's exciting to do it. I know there's a lot of cool YouTubers that buy a lot of cool or show a lot of cool stuff, and you really want to buy it. Don't do that in the beginning. You don't waste your money on something that you don't even know if you're going to enjoy yet. Okay? So let's start with the basics. When it comes to buying, I cannot tell you what kind of gun to buy for yourself. Maybe if you haven't bought a gun yet, go to a range where you can rent stuff, borrow some of your homies' guns, see what you like, what you don't like, get an idea of what recoil feels like and what different grip angles on the guns feel like. There's a lot of dynamic there that one person can't just tell you, yeah, this is the gun for you. It's the best gun for you. That's bullshit.
What's your profanity?
Right, I'm sorry.
You have to know what's good for you. We're not the same people. Our grips aren't going to be the same. Our tolerance to recoil is going to be completely different. It's just a huge dynamic, okay? I can't tell you what gun is going to be best. You have to decide for that. But if you've already bought the gun and you really like it, great, fantastic. Let's jump into the other stuff that you need besides your gun. Now, it's important, like I said, not to spend a butt ton of money on getting geared up. But there are some things I would recommend. Let me get a little closer, maybe. There are some things that I would recommend that you do spend a little bit extra money on, and that is eye and ear protection. Okay? Let's be honest. I almost said a joke about protection.
I would definitely bring protection.
But I'm an adult. We're not going to make silly jokes like that. But when it comes to your eyes and your ears, they don't heal if they get super injured, right? Your hearing is, once it's gone, it's gone. If you lose an eye, it's not going to be replaced unless some kind of medical miracle happens that I don't know about yet. We need to take care of what we have. So when it comes to ear protection, there's a lot of thought processes that comes to ear protection. Sure, you can just get some foamies that you can squeeze and stuff in your ear. Yeah, that's fabulous. That works okay. Usually they have the highest decibel reduction rating, but because they have a good high decibel reduction, it's hard to communicate with other people if you're shooting them with a group. So there's a downside there. What I like is I have a set of electronic ear protection that I absolutely love. And those are probably almost 10 years old now. The technology is so much better. I mean, spend a little bit of money on some good electronic ears. That's what I recommend. If they don't reduce the noise enough, then you can still throw some foamies in there and have a doubled up ear protection. It's a safe way to go. The other thing I really love about my electronic ears is they're Bluetooth. So I did spend a little extra money there. So I can listen to music. I can turn it way down low if I'm shooting just to keep me relaxed and having a good time. Honestly, I do that when I'm shooting competitions. I will listen to music while I'm shooting in a competition. Don't tell the RSO that, though. They don't like that. The next thing that you don't have to spend a ton of money on, but it's a good idea to spend a little bit more than 99 cents, is a good set of eye protection. Now, there's a lot of issues that I've seen on ranges where range safety officers like freak out if you're not wearing eye pro, but you have prescription glasses on. Most modern glasses nowadays have some sort of a shatterproof polycarbonate type lens. That's great. Anything is better than nothing. But they don't really cover around or wrap around the sides of your eyes. I personally have taken hot brass down the side of my glasses. It was a 22 and it burnt on the side of my scalp, or I guess that's not my scalp, but my temple here, as that 22 brass just sat between the rims of my glasses. The arms of my glasses and my skin, and it seriously burned onto my skin. Super uncomfortable, unpleasant. I was hoping I'd have a cool scar, but it didn't scar up. So you want some kind of a safety glass or something you can add to your prescription glasses that are going to kind of shield the sides of your face there to keep anything from coming in either side. That's a really good idea. A lot of folks will tell you that, oh, you don't need to have shooting glasses. It's a waste of time. It's hard to see out of them. That may be the case, but I would highly recommend having some kind of eye protection. I have seen guns blow up on the range. I have seen it with my own eyes that I had glasses on to keep them safe. It happens. It doesn't happen all the time. It's rare, but there's still a chance.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Yeah!
So be super, super careful. Get some good quality protective gear. It's worth its weight in gold. All right, the next thing that you can spend a ton of money on or not much at all. Now, if you read your owner's manual, your gun, it'll tell you like how to clean your gun. If you don't have any sort of a cleaning kit, you need to buy something to maintain that investment, because guns really do usually collect value over the years, usually, not all the time. Nonetheless, you need to protect that investment that you just made, especially if it's something you're going to carry. You want to maintain that thing. It's a big deal that it works properly when you need it. Now, you can spend, like I said, a ton of money on some sort of cleaning kit that has every possible cleaning brush or whatever for every caliber of gun. They can get really expensive. Or you can go find a reputable dealer, somebody that you trust, that can sell you a product that works for your caliber or type of firearm. Just start with something easy. Get a couple of brushes and a rod and some solvent and some oil or lubricant that's just going to keep that gun in tip-top shape, because you need it to run when you need it to run, right? It's gotta work when you need it. And if you don't clean that gun, a lot of folks will say like, oh, well, I'm kind of guilty of this too. When it comes to some of my handguns, I really don't clean them that regularly, other than my carry gun. That I do keep clean. But like my competition stuff, stupid idea, because it probably interferes with how I shoot. I don't really clean them all that often, and you get a lot of carbon buildup and gunk and gross stuff, and it's going to impact how the gun cycles. So maintenance is really important. But here's the deal. You need to follow your manufacturer's specified places to lubricate that gun, because there's places you do want to lube, and there's places that you absolutely do not want to get lubricant inside the gun. So you got to really understand and know where your firearms manual says to take care and maintain and oil that gun. It is a big deal. You should probably pay attention to that. While we're on the subject of reading your owner's manual and seeing where, that specifies specific things about cleaning your gun, it's going to give you a lot of the same important information when it comes to selecting the ammunition for your gun. Not all ammunition is created the same. It might be the same. Let's say you bought a Glock 19 that runs 9mm. Sure, that's cool. But not all 9mm is the same. You can buy some really cheap garbage. The gun might not function with, garbage brass or steel cased ammo. Also, some guns really struggle with different weights of bullets. Like, there's a lot of stuff to consider, or even the shape of the bullet. Look at your owner's manual. It might tell you specifically what kind of stuff to use and what stuff to avoid. And then buy some ammo that you know is going to run. Most modern guns are going to shoot pretty much anything you feed it. Most. There are some that really don't like certain weights. Bullet weight, they weigh them in grains. 7,000 grains is a pound. But they weigh them in that specific weight of the bullet. Some guns won't like it. It's important to know that. So you're shooting in a competition or in a life-threatening situation, you want your gun to function when it needs to function. The other thing is, while we're talking about bullets, this is a big, big deal. Write this down. Ball ammo, full metal jacket, that kind of stuff is great for training and practicing and hitting the range. Fabulous. That is not, and I repeat, not a good use for self-defense. Terrible idea. The reason is the way that bullet's designed. In fact, do I have... Look at that. I just happen to have one here sitting in the box of ammo. So this is a full metal jacket. In fact, you know what? I bet I have... Check this out. Yeah, I just have random stuff on my desk. So that's a full metal jacket, okay? Great for target practice, that kind of stuff. Now look, a full metal jacket means just that, okay? The bullet, the projectile, is completely surrounded by a jacket, in this case of copper, right? That's what it's covered in. Now, a hollow point, which is this guy here, which is hard to see. Maybe it'll focus. A hollow point is exactly what it sounds like. There is... That's better, I guess. You can kind of see that. It means there's a divot inside the nose of this bullet, and so you can't really see them. It's hard to see, but the bullet is designed to, once it impacts, it opens up and dissipates as much energy as possible in the shortest amount of distance possible. that's what you want to use for self-defense, right? You don't want a bullet to go all the way through. That's the problem with full metal jackets. If you shoot some kind of a media with it, it tends to carry that energy through the target. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Where a hollow point is designed to drop as much energy as possible, it spreads out and forces that energy in a bigger space. So it usually slows down within 8 inches or so, depending on what it hits before. So it's a big deal. Understand the difference in ammunition. Big deal. Okay. Also, while we're talking about ammunition, I like to buy lots of ammunition. Now, some people say it's not necessary to go into a big stockpile, and I'm not saying you should be a prepper and buy pallets and pallets of ammo, but I'm also not saying that. It's up to you. As much money as you are willing to spend on ammunition is a good idea. I think in 2025, we might see a slight drop in ammunition prices, but I do have a feeling by the end of the year, and I could be wrong, I hope I am, but I have a sneaking hunch that cost of ammo is going to come up. So a few years ago, a box of 9mm was like $8. Super awesome. I wish I would have bought way more at $8 because now, at least where I live, we're looking at nothing under $12 a box for the same box of ammo. It gets expensive. Now that's just for full metal jackets. When you get to hollow point or self-defense type ammo, consider that you're probably going to be paying around $1 or a little bit more per bullet, per cartridge. That means this guy is $1 a piece, right? Compared to a full metal jacket, you're going to be around 20-ish cents. I mean, that's subject to change, but you get the idea. Self-defense stuff is way more expensive, but it's also way more important.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
What's happening? It's Steve with the Range Minded Podcast, and I'm here to share with you a goal that I have for 2025. Now, I've been doing the podcast now since 2018. That's a long time. But it's been kind of a lull as far as people actually subscribing to the show. So I set a goal for this year to hit 1,000 subscribers on each of my YouTube and my Rumble channel. Now, a lot of you people already follow me on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or even TikTok. But very few of you guys actually follow me on where you can watch the show. So do me a favor. As soon as this video is over, jump over to the YouTube channel, jump over to the Rumble channel and hit subscribe. That would mean the world to me. It may not be much to you, but it is a lot to me. Help me achieve my goal of 1,000 subs this year, and all your wildest dreams will come true. There might be some kind of a disclaimer after that, but you get the point. Anyways, thanks guys. Take somebody shooting, and as always, stay range-minded. See ya. So you've got your gun, you've got your ear and eye protection, you've got some ammo. You're going to need a way to carry that stuff. I almost swore there. You're going to need a way to carry that stuff to the range. So that means getting some kind of a range bag. Now, I have a oversized, ridiculously too big of a duffel bag that I bought years ago that I can throw a few boxes of ammo, my gun belt, because I do things that might be a little different than what you're doing right now. Some of the other stuff I might need, target tape, markers, that kind of stuff, first aid kit. By the way, I have a great video on an individual first aid kit. It's a tactical tip video. Go back and watch that. Maybe I'll find a way to link it on here. Super important. First aid is a big deal, but we're not going to talk about it in this video. So find yourself a good range bag that can carry everything you need, but not something that's so ridiculously cumbersome or oversized. And in some cases, even too tactical. I think that's kind of a fad you could probably avoid and get good quality stuff. But also, don't spend way too much money on it because, again, your gear is going to change while you're on this journey through the Second Amendment. So pay attention to that. And then here's some things that you might consider optional. Optional? That's the word I'm looking for. Something as an option and not as a standard. But I disagree. I think this next item should be something that you buy anyways. And that's a good quality holster. Now, I need to do a tactical tip on a holster, but let me tell you this right now. I've talked a lot about holsters in the past. I've got episodes about holsters probably from the beginning of the show. But here's the important thing about a holster, okay? You need something that is specific for your gun, that you know is going to hold your specific firearm. Don't just buy a generic one from some big box store. Buy something that's specific for your firearm, especially if it's a handgun. You want to be able to slide in there and have some kind of retention. You should hear some kind of an audible click where you can flip that holster upside down and that gun won't fall out. That's a big deal, okay? The other thing that is a big deal is that it covers the trigger. You want something that completely covers that trigger guard, especially if it's like your everyday carry, if you're carrying inside the waistband or in your pocket. You need something that covers that trigger. That is a huge deal. You don't want anything that gets inside that trigger guard unexpectedly. And you can probably put some imagination into it to understand why. Okay? Again, we don't want to put our finger on the trigger until we've made the decision to fire, right? That was one of the safety rules. So why would we just stuff a gun in our pocket and let our keys or chapstick or whatever else we could put in our pockets get inside that trigger guard and potentially have a catastrophe? Okay? Get yourself a good quality holster. Now, you got to understand that a good starting level price for a good holster is going to be probably in the $40 to $50 range, maybe even a little bit more than that. But if you plan on doing some high-speed cool guy stuff, you're going to be spending, 3 figures on a holster. Just understand that. But nonetheless, on the start of your journey, I want you to get a good quality holster. My homie Nick at Hoftech, he has got a great holster that would probably serve you really well. His holster is called the Omni-Carry. Now, I know I just said don't buy a generic holster that just fits whatever. Now, this holster does fit like 300 frames, different models of firearm. But Nick, he's like a wizard. He's some kind of a genius. He created a holster that actually has positive retention that can be adjusted to fit your gun. And it's pretty amazing. I'll put a link to it below. He's a great friend. I was one of his customers before he was ever on the show. I love his stuff. So check it out, hoftech.com or hoftechindustries.com, or just look up Omni-Carry. That holster is fantastic. Another really good thing to throw in that new range bag that you're going to buy, and hopefully the gun you bought came with some magazines, but it's okay to buy more magazines. I strongly recommend buying more mags for the gun that you just bought, more than just the 2 or maybe 3 that the gun came with. Here's the reason why. So if you're going to classes, it's always good to have more magazines, but the real reason is we have no idea when things are going to change, supply chain issues or whatever. Buy some more mags that you know are going to work in your gun when you buy the gun. It's okay. I know some mags get really, really expensive, especially if you bought some bougie staccato or something where the mags are like $100 or some ridiculous number. Not confirmed. I don't know. I don't own a staccato. I'm not rich. But nonetheless, buy some mags that you can throw in your range bag. It's totally cool. It's okay to have more mags than you think you need. Another thing that I see people buying, and I'm kind of old school, but I think it's a great thing, is a speed loader. There's a lot of cool speed loaders out there now. I think the Aplula, is the brand that I've seen used the most. Pretty cool design. There's other speed loaders out there. They can get kind of spicy on the price side, but they do save your thumbs. I promise you, especially if you're in a class, you're trying to reload as many mags. If you only brought 2 mags to a class, again, more reasons to buy more mags. But if you're trying to reload a magazine really quick, it can really hurt your thumbs. In fact, I have seen people cut their thumbs open on the magazine as they're trying to load them in a hasty manner. So get a good speed loader and some extra mags. Throw them in your range bags. You won't be mad at me. I promise. You'll actually appreciate that advice. Now, here's the thing when it comes to spending money where you probably don't need to off the bat. I get it. You watch a lot of cool YouTube videos that got you excited about buying your firearm. And you see some dude, high-speed guy, cool YouTube channel that's talking about this fancy light or laser. I get it. It's a benefit in some ways. But listen, you're just starting your firearms journey. Don't spend money on that stuff yet. Spend money on classes. Okay? Spend money on ammo, that kind of thing. Don't be buying all these cool gadgets and gizmos to add to your gun. Just pump the brakes a minute. Learn more about the gun and how to use it before you're adding another level of something that you have to train on. Does that make sense? Because think about this. You put a laser on your gun, you're going to want some training on how to effectively zero that laser and deploy the laser in an effective manner in a self-defense situation. Same thing if it comes to some sort of an optic or a light. These are things that require layers of training. Maybe not extensive, big deal training, but some do. Honestly, if you're working on an optic on your gun, yeah, it's nice to have that red dot on there. Sure, that's cool. But when you take a class on why have a red dot and how you can improve with a red dot, I mean, that's an expensive class. So don't just jump on throwing cool gear on the gun. Start off simple, just the gun, magazines, range bag, equipment, as far as like eye and ear stuff. Keep it simple at first. Don't go crazy, Gucciing out your Glock right off the bat. Just chill. All right, here's the spicy part of where, I don't know, maybe I'll piss some people off or what. Honestly, I don't care. Whenever you're a new shooter at a range, especially if you're a young lady, you are going to find a deluge of people that want to give you some help, which are really mostly just opinions. You're going to get bombarded by stuff. How do we know what is good and what is just a bunch of BS? Because you're going to get both at the range. I promise you. I've seen it. I've experienced it. And maybe I've, been the purveyor of such information at times. Opinions are going to flow at you like crazy. And we already know what opinions are because everybody's got one and they all stink. And a lot of that information that's going to be thrown to you at the range is probably going to be crap. I know this because I have both been the recipient of it and maybe I might be guilty of sharing some of those opinions as well. Let's jump into that and discuss it real quick. Number one thing you got to worry about when it comes to digesting information is vetting the source. Understand who the person is. Ask questions. If they don't look like they have any gunshot wounds in their hands, might be a good source. I don't know. If you know that they're a competitive shooter, if they've been shooting for a long time, that information is probably going to be somewhat solid. If you know there's some kind of an instructor, it might be okay to listen to that information. But if it's some punk kid that's doing stupid stuff at the range, like twirling his gun, I hope not. Anything like that, I would totally ignore that information because they're probably just full of crap. The same thing comes from YouTube content creators. There are a lot of solid YouTube content creators, or not just out of YouTube, but content creators that are sharing fantastic advice. Find people that have, some kind of a training academy or some kind of vetted information process. Those guys I trust. There's a lot of guys out there that I do trust. But when it gets to some of the dudes that are like doing trick shots and like juggling circus monkeys or whatever, if that's the case, that's just a clown, right? If he's at a circus juggling, he's a clown, right? The same thing comes with content creators. If they're trying to do stuff that doesn't really seem safe, I would just not pay attention to it. A lot of times too, if you're on social media, some of those comments, yeah, it's total BS. And those are a little bit harder to suss out. But just look for good solid sources. Ask a lot of questions when you're at the gun counter. Say, hey, ask questions about who's a good instructor. If you get a lot of the same people saying the same name, yeah, that guy's probably a good source, or gal is a good source of information. There's ways to kind of sift through that information. But again, if you get a creepy vibe or something just doesn't feel right, or you notice the guy says something at the range like you have to do this, but doesn't do that, or their target doesn't produce the results that they're trying to get you to do, yeah, I wouldn't pay attention to that shooter. Probably full of shit. Just listen to your gut. For some reason, we're given these spidey senses, right? Like if something doesn't feel quite right, if it feels fishy, if it smells fishy, then it's a fish, right? If you're not comfortable with the advice somebody's given you, just ignore it. Ego is a big problem on the range too. This is the other thing that's probably fair to throw out here. And running a range and teaching instructors, like you see this all the time, right? Ego gets in the way. People say, well, I was a cop or I was in the military. That doesn't mean crap. Okay. If they can't produce the results downrange, it's full of it. They're just full of it. Just trust your gut. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Ignore the ego. It's hard to, because some people are really egotistical, thinking that they're the greatest thing since sliced bread, but they're not. Okay. Just do your best. Sometimes that's hard to figure out, but trust your gut. Then when it comes to actually finding an instructor, I know I kind of mentioned this a second ago about asking questions, right? Talking to the people at the gun counter or somebody at the range that you notice is really successful with their target, asking questions about where they learned how to shoot. And then if you get, again, somebody that gets recommended a lot, that instructor is probably pretty solid. And it's okay to ask for some kind of credentials. Now, this is, I promise, I get frustrated with this a lot. Anybody can get like an NRA cert or a USCCA cert. Pretty much, if you have a pulse and you have the time, you can get certifications. That doesn't mean anything. I know a lot of instructors that are certified that I wouldn't go to. That's where the word of the mouth, that kind of stuff comes into play. Credentials and certifications are not the same thing. So, yeah, I guess, you can ask them, tell me what kind of credentials you have as an instructor. If they can provide that information, great. Again, this is a whole trust your gut thing. I have met some pretty amazing, humble instructors that are absolutely willing to share their knowledge. And a lot of those guys or gals, a lot of them don't have NRA certifications, but they know the information. And they have a way of presenting that information that helps people learn. So credentials and certifications are not the same thing. Just ask good questions and trust your gut. Just like the people at the range that you're asking advice from. You got to trust your gut. The other thing is, while I have you here on this very thing, and I've told this to people before, and this sucks, if you spend some money to go to a class and you notice that, hey, this instructor lied about, whatever, because you see some kind of egregious safety violation, just leave. You don't have to take that class. You don't have to be there and risk getting hurt. If you see some kind of egregious safety violation, just bounce. I know you're out $100, but you're also out of a hospital stay or a funeral, so it might be completely worth it. So again, when it comes to finding an instructor, I guess this is the best way for me to kind of boil that down to it. Street cred matters. If it's Mookie down there on the corner, being a homie, right? Street cred matters. He wants to keep his rep, and so do good firearms instructors. They because that's how they make money, with good reputation and good skills, whether it be teaching or shooting. That is how they they pay the bills. So good instructors are going to be recommended a lot. Their reputation matters a lot. And like I say, most of them are pretty humble, cool people. They're fun to be around, and they want to share their knowledge and passion of the 2A with other folks. It can be a lot of fun. All right, that's it. That's the video for you new firearms owners. Now, I know a lot of this content is pretty boring for the people that are seasoned. This isn't meant for you. This is meant for the new shooter that is just getting into the industry. If you know somebody that's brand new into the family and you don't know quite how to share some of this information, share this video with them. I think it'd be fantastic. My love as a firearms instructor is helping new people on their journey. That's what I love. That's why I honestly do the podcast as well. I want to help people through their firearms journey. So if you feel like this stuff has good content and you know somebody that needs to hear it, share it with them. That'd be great. If you think I missed something, or maybe if you've had some good or bad experiences, throw those down in the comments. Let's have a conversation in the comments section and help people grow together. That's what this is all about. We are one big family on this firearms journey together. We're all on this rock, and we're all just moving towards perfection little by little. Sometimes we don't hit that mark, but that's okay. The journey is the fun part. So go ahead, share those comments, share this video with somebody who needs it. Plus, if you like this kind of content, make sure you subscribe. I have got a lot of episodes of the podcast. If you look through the catalog, you'll see I've been doing this for a hot minute. And I'd love to have you as a sub. So if you like it here, or whether it be on Rumble, cool beans, subscribe. Also, if you would like to support the show in any way, first of all, the easiest way to do that is to become a subscriber and like this video. The other way, if you want to help out a little bit more, is you can jump on the website, rangemindedpodcast.com. I love patches. That's how I try to help offset the cost of the show. I'm not sponsored. This is all self-supported. So if you want to buy a patch, jump on the website, buy a patch. If you want to kick in some other ways, that's great. There's a link tree and all that other stuff. There's ways for you to help out the show. That'd be awesome. You don't have to, but it'd be awesome. I'd appreciate it. Anyways, that's it. Guys, I love you. I appreciate your time. I know I was trying to keep this episode to about 30 minutes, but I don't think we hit it. It is what it is. Anyways, guys, stay safe. Take somebody shooting. And as always, stay range-minded.